Shout out to the hottest chat in the MF and game. You already know what it is. No negotiation needed. First in the building, WCS. Salute to everyone who support the channel. I stopped in for a short one. Um, Wanted to talk about Naoya Inoue. And for those of you that's been around the sport, I always say for those of you that's been around the sport, because not everybody has been around the sport equally, you know what I'm saying, and basically paying attention. So there's a Japanese boxer on the pound for pound list who is called named Naoya Inoue. You know what I'm saying? His record is 26-0, 23 knockouts. He has a cool 88.46% knockout ratio, age 31, Japanese. His alias Monster, 5'5", 67.5-inch reach. Okay? He is currently, a 4-division champion, 2-division undisputed. And there's a lot to be said about him. You know what I'm saying? He basically unified the 118-pound bantamweight division by defeating Paul Butler, and then moved up to 122 and defeated Stephen Fulton, who was undefeated at the time. You know what I'm saying? Just knocked him out in 8 rounds. I ain't never seen Stephen Fulton look like that in his entire career, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that, undefeated record don't mean you won't face adversity, but I ain't never seen him go through that bullshit I seen. But yeah, he went on to fight Marlon Tapales, who beat MJ for his titles. So he was able to scoop up 2-2. And why I bring this up is that no one really had anything to say about him moving up and facing Stephen Fulton at super bantamweight. And the fact that the fight was, canceled and then, rescheduled, and he had to go to Japan and fight. Both of his undisputed runs, you know what I'm saying, came pretty much in Japan. You know what I'm saying? He cleaned up and scooped up the last belt with Paul Butler. Then, Fulton was in Japan and Tapales was in Japan. You know what I'm saying? So he has Luis Neri, who was beat already by Stephen Fulton, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Let me fact check myself. I might be thinking about something else. Not Stephen Fulton. Brandon Figueroa. And, he's up next. Luis Neri. He's up next. But this is about Naoya Inoue, who's been on the pound for pound list for quite some time. Now, my deal is that I have no problem with him being on the pound for pound list because, sometimes these foreign fighters, they do well, right? But how they're basically making their bed in boxing is a question to me. Like, the U.S. is a huge footprint, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, he can have this empowerment to say if they want to fight me or whatever, they can come over to Japan and this, that, and the other. Okay, cool. But really, we want to see, you know what I'm saying, what the hype is about in the U.S. We do want to see it. You came over here and fought Michael Desmarinas, you know what I'm saying, in 2021. And then you fought Jason Maloney at the MGM Grand. It's not like he's never came over to the U.S. But, when you count the amount of times he's been over to the U.S. and who he's fought when he's came here, that leaves in the question, He fought Antonio Nieves. So he's moving up to divisions that's giving him more notice, and he's saying, okay, the 3 times I did fight in the U.S., out of my 26 fights, the 23 times I did fight, you should be happy with that. If somebody wants to fight me, they need to come over to Japan. That's where I'm going to be at. And my biggest question to the fight fans, how do you respect that? Do y'all believe, because there's been many conversations about Inoue and his big fights staying over there in Japan. Is there a bigger reason, an underlining reason as to why Inoue choose to stay put I love Japan. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? I love the Japanese culture. I was over there several years, and a huge group of Japanese friends. I mean, I like Japan. I mean, I'm not coming at Inoue, Inoue, wherever they want to Inoue, any type of way, except just like I would say any fighter that's fighting most of their fights in their own country. You know, you have U.S. fighters that go over there across the waters, and you know sometimes we have some of these foreign fighters come over here to the U.S. But Inoue, in my opinion, must not be concerned about making huge paydays or anything like that, because he might be just safe, you know, safeguarding everything in his backyard. He might not be looking to make these huge paydays, or he may be, you know, trying to keep stuff on the wraps that he don't it doesn't want to get exposed over here in the U.S. You know, I don't know. He's fought over here 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. You know what I'm saying? But the big fights has all been in Japan. You know what I'm saying? His undisputed. He is the second fighter to become 2-time undisputed behind the real monster, the Omaha monster, Terrence Bud Crawford. You know what I'm saying? So I commend Inoue for what he's been able to accomplish. But I do have criticism on, you know, his bantamweight, because, you know, he fought the legend Donito Donaire, but Donaire was already freaking, you know, in my opinion, had climbed the hill and he was on his way back down the hill out the door. And also he had already beat freaking Nonito Donaire before. They went the distance. He go over there to fight Nordino Bali and come back and get stopped. And then Paul Butler, we already know what happened with Jose Casemiro. And then why Paul Butler was able to, you know, get the WBO title. And then went in there, and what he do to Paul Butler? Stopped him in the 11th round. And that was for the final belt at the bantamweight division. Stephen Fulton goes over there and act like he never boxed. I mean, it just looked bad. You know what I'm saying? Even though the scores read 68-65, 69-64, and 69-64, I just couldn't really wrap my head around how bad he looked. But I'm looking at it like this. If your name and your alias is the monster, you should be able to come over here and fight some of these younger fighters if you choose to move up to 126. There's some good names out there now. You know what I'm saying? But let me read you a little bit of this article. It's from Boxing News. And once again, one of my non-favorite writers, Chris Williams, wrote this. Highly rated pound-for-pound fighter Inoue posted a defined message on social media, projecting the idea that he needs to fight instead of staying in Japan. I guess he said he needs to fight in the U.S. instead of staying in Japan. But what do I assume? And if they want to fight him, they need to come there. With this attitude, I can see what Top Rank is up against, trying to turn Inoue into a star in the U.S. Top Rank is never going to turn Inoue into a star with him resisting the idea of fighting in America. And you can only wonder why he's so hesitant. Is it fear? It said the fear factor, why Inoue avoids the U.S. Undisputed super bantamweight champion Monster Inoue, 26-0, 23 knockouts, say if fighters want to fight him, they have to come to Japan. This stubborn, intractable stance shows that Inoue is inflexible, and unwilling to change his mind about coming to the U.S. to become a star. Inoue must know that if he comes to the U.S., he'll be expected to risk his hide fighting opposition, which will put him under fire, and he will lose. That wouldn't help Inoue at home in Japan, with the fans seeing him getting beaten repeatedly in the U.S. That's a point. I agree with that. You know, it would affect his boxing Wall Street in his own country, but he won't be the first one to lose over there. They had plenty of fighters in Japan that try to dance over here in the U.S. and in different sports or whatever. It is what it is. He's no different. It said the 31-year-old Inoue fails to grasp that he would not become a star. Remember that. You know what I'm saying? In the United States, unless he fights there and faces much better opposition than the guy he's been fighting his entire 12-year professional career. I'm kind of liking this article. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Chris, had his coffee. You know what I'm saying? Did he have a freaking, ham and cheese Swiss croissant? You know what I'm saying? Ham and Swiss croissant or something? You know what I'm saying? Some freshly picked grapes? I don't know. It said in response to the comment saying he should come to America and fight, the home of the lightweight division, super bantamweight, is now here in Japan. If you want to see the game, come to Japan, said Inoue Inoue on X. If there is something better than what is available in Japan market in America, I would be happy to go. That's all worth it here in Japan. I don't mind me being a huge part of Japanese culture and everything. I don't mind him having that, displaying that honor to fight in Japan. I don't mind it at all because it would be hypocritical of me to say, what the U.S. of A. You're talking about a vet who served. It's just like them saying, okay, why you serve the military in the U.S.? Why you didn't come over to Japan and serve in our military? I know that's a broad, freaking hypothetical scenario. You know what I'm saying? In hindsight, but who am I to say he shouldn't be fighting in Japan? All I'm saying, if you want to be a star in the U.S. of A., you're gonna have to come over here, buddy. You're gonna have to leave the your safe haven and come over here and fight on this U.S. footprint. Yes, sir, and get a hold to some of this competition over here. It goes on to say casual American fans don't care about the super bantamweight division 122 that Inoue competes at, and the weight class will continue to be ignored as long as no one popular goes there to fight. Inoue's habit of facing anonymous with marginal talent isn't going to help him become a star in the U.S. unless he fights there and faces high-level opposition. He hasn't been doing that, so he's not become a big name in the U.S. It goes on to say, and this is Boxing News 24, ESPN commentators make a big deal about Inoue, praising him, but that hasn't helped him become a star because he hasn't fought anyone good besides Stephen Fulton, who wasn't well known by casual fans. Only hardcore fans know who Fulton is, and he only recently became known to them. I'm really feeling the article. I think he put some nice fillers in here, you know what I'm saying, and says some facts about Inoue. Real talk. And ESPN do praise the heck out of Inoue, and he doesn't even do much. Like, he doesn't even really promote himself. That he just has the monster, the monster. Well, come over here and fight and see how many other monsters in the U.S. That's all I'm saying. If you want just big fights and you're a 4-division world champion, come over here and fight some of these monsters. Just like we tell, the British fighters, just like we tell the African fighters, just like we'll tell Russian fight, any of them, come over here. We have plenty of fighters over here. Probably more than you have over there in the ranking system. Inoue will defend his 422-pound titles next month against recently knocked out Luis Nery. You know what I'm saying? 35-1, 27 knockouts on May 6th. And this what he's talking about. You rather fight over there in Japan, Luis Nery. Yeah, I got to give you the same criticism that we're going to give individuals over here who have mediocre, marginal resumes, and their opposition is to be critiqued and scrutinized. Yes, we got to put them under the lens, the microscopic lens, and give you that criticism too. Though it may not seem constructive, it's not meant to be destructive. All I'm saying is you fight over there across the water all you want. But it's going to come a time at 31 years old that you're just going to fade off just like the sunset. That's all. Day is going to become night, and people are going to start talking about you less and less. Point blank, period, homie. It says U.S. fans aren't excited about the fight, noting that Nery was knocked out by Brandon Figueroa several years ago and has faced nothing but low-level opposition ever since. And that's what I was trying to get at. Luis Nery, I just had the name wrong, but I remember him, Brandon Figueroa stopping him And one loss doesn't basically, consummate everything that you've done in your boxing career. That doesn't do that. But fans see. Hold on for a second. Okay, I'm back. Let me see something. Shout out to the chat. Carlos Rosado's on deck. I see you. It does seem fishy that Inoue doesn't want to fight in America. Yeah, we're just trying to find out what type of fish it is, though. You know what I'm saying? What type of fish is it? Al Money in the building. Salute to you. WCS on deck. I see you in the building, man. What's good with it? Bruce Gas Boxing Jazz and more, the OG in the building. Salute, brother at WCS. Salute to you. Juice Lee is in the building. Monster, a superstar over there. He about to fight in front of 50K. Boxing in the U.S. is niche. Wilder was a champion, knocking people out for years and was unknown to the average person. Okay, this is what I have to say about him and the 50K over there. I mean, it's okay to be able to be in a country, of course, where, they have primary sports that they love. Japanese love combat sports. They do. I'm not saying that's the only sport, but just like the Brits, you know what I'm saying, over there, they love boxing. The Japanese will come see a superstar. Okay. But those fan bases over here, what are they doing? Those fan bases in his own country, how are they resonating over here in the U.S.? Because this is pretty much where the money at, unless, of course, you have some other investors that want to pay attention and put that money on the Inoue to fight in the sandbox. But they're not gonna freaking pay to see him fight a Luis Nery who's already been stopped by Brandon Figueroa. It's not gonna happen. I mean, that's the only thing they talking about. Let me finish this article up right quick. Fans see Inoue's choice of Luis Nery as an opponent as another example of his cherry picking a soft opponent while ignoring the killers in the 126, 130, and 35-pound weight class that would be a nightmare for him. All I want to say, once again, we have another foreign fighter who's being heralded as one of these ultimate superstars. And he's only fought in the U.S. 3 times. He chooses to stay in his own country and be on the pound for pound list. And really, Inoue is not one of those global superstars. Everybody don't know who he is. They don't talk about Inoue on here all the time. Yeah, there's some people that want to mention his name. I know who he is. You know what I'm saying? He's not a bad fighter at all. He can fight. But I've seen, especially in the bantamweight rise to him unifying. I mean, come on, man. Do I have to really truly go through his resume? You know what I'm saying? One of the weakest unifications, in my opinion, would be, the bantamweight. His bantamweight freaking how he unified the bantamweight division, man. You know, you can say what you want, but if we go all the way back to when he moved up from superfly to bantamweight, and he fought Hammy, however you want to put it, Jamie McDonald or Hammy McDonald for the WBA. Who that is? That's just my favorite fighter. That's just my favorite fighter. Um, and then Juan Payano, tough fighter. You know what I'm saying? Then he fought Emmanuel Rodriguez, who I give much respect to it. You know, 19-0. Emmanuel Rodriguez was, at that point in time, he was a decent fighter. I ain't gonna lie. He was a solid champion. I ain't gonna hold you on that. But then, you know, Nonito Donaire, and then they keep Donaire up in the rankings because, you know, he did a lot in boxing. So they kept him around in the rankings, sent him over to the WBC. He fought Jason Maloney, you know, in defense. And he fight Das Marinas, you know, defending his unified titles. And then another guy. And then he you know, after Donaire returns back from the WBC from defeating Obali, you know, he fights Donaire again. Okay, come on now. Donaire is very old in the game at this point. And then he finishes up with Paul Butler. Man, come on, bro. You know what I'm saying? Then goes up. Okay, Fulton's 21-0. I mean, he has to fight this man over in his own country, and you know, a lot of people gonna say, hey, he did what he had to do. He beat Fulton. And then Tapales, you know, 37-3. Man, come on, bro. You know, he beat MJ. Who knew who MJ was, or Tapales, to be honest? You know what I'm saying? Who knew about that? You know, this dude has been stopped 3 times already. You know what I'm saying? Inoue stopping him wasn't no big deal, but he stopped him in the 10. He had been stopped by you know, back in 2019, and he also had been stopped early in his career in 2009. He had been stopped. Three out of 4 of his losses have been stoppages. You know what I'm saying? Stoppages, not distance. He had a majority decision in there, and the rest was, you know, stoppages. But anyway, you know, when it comes down to it, you know where I'm at with it. Andrew Charles on deck. What's good? I think the talent should go to Japan to fight Inoue. I think it's exciting to see American fighters fight in other countries. Well, we have had that, Andrew. All right? We have had that. But to continue to see U.S. fighters going over there to fight a fighter who's supposed to be considered top pound for pound, what proof is that? What is this for? You know what I'm saying? What format are we going off of? I understand where you at if you extract what you said. I think the talent, who is the talent? You know, if you're a professional fighter, you're talented, right? You're talented, right? So when you say, I think the talent should go to Japan, how much of the talent should go to Japan? How much of the talent should go to Japan? If you're a champion, you're telling me a champion, the talent, Stephen Fulton, should go to Japan and fight and accommodate him in his own country? Now, I know a lot of people are going to look at this like, well, he was getting his highest payday. If the money is basically allowing you to gravitate over there, and you feel that's your only way to kind of make, I see where you at with it, because in boxing that happens a lot. People go over there because the checks are bigger, possibly, and everything else. But most of the time they lose their title, unless you one of them fighters who absolutely standing on everything, and you keeping your integrity and honor. Like if you're the top pound for pound fighter, everybody have to come to your backyard and deal with a long flight over to Japan, a long ass flight over to Japan, and then they got to get acclimated and disperse that jet lag and get into the groove over there to fight you. I mean, just think about it. You're taking, I mean, you know, it's a lot to deal with. It's not like you can't get Japanese food or whatever your diet is over here in the U.S., but it's quite difficult for a fighter to go over there. And I know it's unchanged since I was over there, of course, But I'm just saying that's a long flight to go over there and get your body acclimated to that time zone. Hopefully everything works out. You know what I'm saying? Shake out, continue to cut weight, and then go in there in front of a crowd, for a championship fight that's going to be rooting for their hometown guy all the time. If you're a U.S. fighter, it's been known that in the U.S. footprint, and they cheer for foreign fighters. They embrace and show love to foreign fighters. They just don't go over here and say, I'm rooting for the U.S. fighter. No, that's just not the way it is. I mean, we have so many sports that we can support over here. We just don't root for our fighters in boxing. We root for the ones that we support and we rock with heavy. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Bram in the building. Top dollar in his market, pure A side of the weight range. If he was American and was in the same position, would that same American have a history of 3 fights in one country? All I'm saying is that one country bigger than the U.S. footprint? How many promoters are in the U.S. footprint, vice over there across the water? You know what I'm saying? Let's not act like boxing is competing with foreign countries. You know what I'm saying? We cannot put Riyadh, Saudi Arabia as the new measuring stick to compete with boxing. Boxing over here in the U.S., we have from the top of the tree to the bottom of the tree. We have rooted. We have boxing promotions been in the game for a long time. And we have some of the highest purses ever in boxing over here in the U.S. So using this as a bridge that we got to pay the toll to cross to prove if we get into the Hall of Fame. What is the Hall of Fame again? Where's the judges at? Where's that located? It's not located overseas. It's not located overseas. The International Boxing Hall of Fame is located where? It's located in the U.S. of Alpha. You know what I'm saying? Under the red, white, and blue. So, bro, this has nothing to do with comparing if a U.S. fighter fights over here and he only fights over there several times. We can't even compare the foreign countries to the U.S. footprint when it comes to boxing. It's just too much going on. You have a variety, a mixture of promoters that's over here putting on fights annually. To just say, well, every time this fighter fights, and let's just say it's just foreign fighters in his weight class, he always got to go and travel to their country. Where it gonna make the most money? Inoue is not an anomaly. I'm just curious to know why he don't want to come to the U.S. and fight his big fights. Like I said before, Inoue's been over here before in the U.S. You know what I'm saying? He's came over here in 2021 and 2020. He fought in Las Vegas. He fought the MGM Grand. But nobody was really looking for that in the bantamweight division. You know? And then he had one more fight in Carson back in 2017 against Antonio Nieves. You know? But all I'm saying is I wonder why he's so hesitant to come over here to the U.S. and have some big fights. Now that he's established. That's my point, Brim. Now that he's established, why are you optimistic about traveling across those waters and come over here for a big fight and face some top names over here? Is it the commission that you don't want to deal with? You know what I'm saying? Do you feel like you're not going to be the same person? You know, I mean, what is bringing this a bit of optimism and hesitation for you to fight in the U.S. a little bit more? You know what I'm saying? That's where it goes a little bit left for me. It would be a bigger fight than him to come over here. If I'm him, why would I come here to fight? He's the A side. If folks want him here, cut a check. And I agree with cutting the check. But also I agree with if they're trying to say he's this global phenomenal fighter, wouldn't you want to spread your entire brand and sow it in the U.S. where boxing is plentiful? Yeah, we can talk about fighters not getting paid and then the state of boxing that we see now. I get it, man. Boxing will always give us those goddamn thorns in our side. Always, man. Boxing will always have you leaking. They will always give you disappointment. That's just the way it is, but it's been like that forever. You know what I'm saying? So him being the A side, that's just like we got fighters over here that's the champion, and don't nobody be kicking that A side stuff. Come on, man. We can go forever and a day. Ryan ain't did anything, but he's supposed to be getting 55-45. So why y'all using the A side to protect and advocate for Inoue just because he's the A side? Every time Crawford's name come up, what happened? Oh man, y'all find a way to say why he don't deserve this and why he don't deserve that. But it's something that I know that's plagued the U.S. boxing fans for a while. You know what that is? Favoritism. Favoritism. They always want to be first and foremost. I want to say that Inoue is the A side and he deserves the right, whatever he wants to fight in Japan, to have his opposition come see him. So they got to get on a plane, fly all the way over here. Every opposition, all the way over to Japan. Go through. I've been in that trip several times. Man, believe me, I flew the waters several times. It sucks. That's the longest flight. You'll think, am I still on the earth? You have to crack the window open. Let me see. Okay. I mean, come on, man. I understand the A-side, but there's plenty of A-side fighters supposedly over here in the U.S. that don't get the A-side treatment. You know what I'm saying? So all of a sudden, he unifies for Undisputed and he fights Louis Neary, who was stopped by Brandon Figueroa. And I really don't care too much about that fight, to be honest. He's defending the titles, but I know if it was any other Undisputed fighter, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm about to give you an example. We got one coming up real soon that was knocked out. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now. We just had a fight of a unification where a fighter was knocked out. But they had a higher value than Louis Neary. American are insanely inconsistent in fanfare, attention and pay in weight classes 126 and lower. Man, pay across the board in boxing is inconsistent. Ryan Garcia hasn't won a title, just the interim, and he refused to fight Haney back in the day. Now he does get a chance to fight Haney, and due to him ducking, it's almost like it don't even matter because he's coming in there supposedly as a social media favorite. He's coming in as a social media favorite. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about Americans are inconsistent? What about the Olympics? What about how they was raising and raping U.S. fighters out of their gold medal? Was that in the U.S.? Was that in the U.S., Brim? How they was raping U.S. boxers would go on to be superstars in sport, how they was raping them of freaking gold medals? You want to talk about the U.S. being consistent? Let's start from the ground floor, the AMs, up to the professional ranks. Should American fighters be a little bit wary fighting in some of these countries and getting robbed? Absolutely. So we shouldn't just check the box and say, you know what, hold that green light for me. I'm going to go down here and pick up some stuff, and then I'm going to come back. I just wanted to be green. Both ways. I wanted to be green. That's how some of these foreign fighters think. Yeah, I fight in my home country. I'm chilling. You can't compare that to the U.S. because the U.S. boxing footprint is way larger than these other countries that y'all advocating for. You know what I'm saying? And then when you say insanely inconsistent, we're talking about boxing here. Like, boxing is only one of the sports that the U.S. fans even support heavy. And the U.S. boxing fan base is not one of the larger fan bases in the U.S. We have other sports that have a much larger fan base than boxing. So if you're saying that we're inconsistent as Americans to support boxing, well, look at the community. Look at the minuscule numbers that are consistent with boxing fans. Look at how boxing fans mental blade is. They will stab you in the back quicker than the quill of a porcupine if you didn't see it sitting there and you up here running through a trail. It causes you pain all the time. It's not just U.S. inconsistent. Japan's inconsistent in a lot of ways too with their commissions. There's been controversy in these foreign countries for a long time. You know what I'm saying? What if Floyd would have got his medal? You know what I'm saying? What if Roy would have got his medal? And several other fighters. And then, you know, in the U.S., they'll say, well, there has been some superstars to get a gold medal. Look at Clarissa Shields. Clarissa, she did it. You know, no. I mean, yeah, she went there, but we're talking about on the male side of the house, to be honest. Hold on, Inoue won't fight in the U.S. I'm starting to look at this cat. I didn't say, you know, like, okay, you say he wouldn't. I'm just saying it's not. He's came over here, a trio. He had a trio of fights over here. You know what I'm saying? Arnold Brown on deck. Salute to you. Now let's keep it a cocoa bean. Let's keep it a cocoa bean. The United States isn't as homogeneous as other countries. That's why folks root for whatever. I agree with that, Juice. Very, very studious point. Very studious point. We're not in a lot of ways. But that's just the way we are as a melting pot. Even the foreigners have chosen to basically breach the boundaries of the U.S. soil and come over here and make a living. So we can't be insanely difficult to deal with at the end of the day because it's a melting pot. Even some foreigners have risked everything to come over here and start a living. So in boxing, I'm just looking at it from a boxing perspective. I just feel like if you want to be a global superstar and you want to convince people who you are, come over here and fight some of these big names over here. You know what I'm saying? Unless Japan is paying out this money that these U.S. fighters can't get over here. And I'm talking about top U.S. fighters. Top U.S. fighters. If they paying them top dollar like, you know, the Turk Al-Sheikh, then I can see them going over there and fighting. You know? I don't know what you're saying, Bull. We in the UK doing fine. I didn't say you wasn't doing fine. I said you all support boxing heavy. So I don't know which part you heard, but I said the Brits support their sport heavy. I'm talking about boxing. They're avid boxing fans over there in the UK. So I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know if somebody else made a comment, but I did not say the Brits was doing terrible at anything. Brim say what I stated has nothing to do with Saudi. It's a foreign country. Lower weight class don't have the same cachet in America. Who in those weight classes pay $2 to $3 million a fight? Most Americans boxing don't fans couldn't tell you. Well, most American fans are not really paying attention to those divisions because there is what is called a diet over here in the US of A. And we don't usually have fighters in those lower weight classes like that. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean we don't know who's in the lower weight classes. You know what I'm saying? I just look at it like you're telling me in the lower weight classes, those fighters are getting paid $2 to $3 million a fight. I disagree. I seriously disagree. I seriously disagree because if they was getting paid $2 to $3 million every fight, then they should do anything in their possible to hire nutritionists so they can stay down there the majority of their career. But we know that's not the truth. They can't stay down there. They get older and they can't stay down there and they have to continue to win in those weight classes. If they wipe out the weight classes and continue to fight the same people, they're not going to pay them $2 to $3 million of fighters who's not higher in the rankings. You got to continue to excel and elevate yourselves in the rankings to get paid something to that extent. If you clean out a division, what are you going to stay there for? Junior flyweight, what are you going to stay at? Middleweight. If you clean out a division, what are you going to do? You're going to move up. That's why Manny Pacquiao is an 8 division champion. He had to move up. He chose to move up. Even him being stopped early in his career, he chose to continue to move up and move up and move up. And if he was making 2 to 3 million a fight back then, why is he still fighting all the time? Why does Manny Pacquiao find it essential that he fight in the U.S. too? You know what I'm saying? If we're talking about 2 to 3 million a fight, that's not insanely accurate. You know what I'm saying? That's not insanely accurate. You can't say what the U.S. is not bringing, bro. Only because we're going through another crisis. You know what I'm saying? Everybody know boxing is not an organization. It's a system that competes. The sport competes in this system. Like I said, everybody is not uniform across the board. They're not. That's not the way it is, Brim. It hasn't been that way for a long time. Y'all hold on for a second. Boxing is not plentiful in America right now. Well, that's not an argument for you and I. You know what I'm saying? That's nothing I feel that I should provide resistance to, because boxing is where it is. It's so many pockets in the U.S. that is promoting boxing, having putting on fights annually. It's too much. I mean, not too much in a bad way. I'm just saying there's too many areas for me to provide you a whole entire list. You know what I'm saying? An honest list. It's not happening. He the top dog. I never said he wasn't the top dog. We just talking about like we do every other debate. We talking about fighters who aren't global. Anthony Johnson isn't a global, but he's making money. You know what I'm saying? How will he look when it comes to the Hall of Fame? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But he's not a global superstar. Yeah, he's high over there where you're at, in the UK. Cool. But he's not a global superstar. When he come over here to the US, uh, maybe the hardcore fans will pretty much know, but the casuals, they don't see him enough to know who Anthony Joshua is. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not hating on him either. I'm just saying I can say that about a lot of fighters, that they're not global superstars. But if you're making that type of money, who has to be global? Every now and then you have a name that peaks out like Anthony Joshua, that they don't have to fight over here in the U.S. to get those huge paychecks. Naoya Inoue is not making Anthony Joshua paychecks fighting in Japan. It's not happening. That's a fact. That's an insane fact right there. He's not making that AJ money. No. AJ had the machine behind him early. He was able to you know, build himself into this build up his persona and who he is in boxing. He does have a respectable resume, no doubt about it. But when it comes to him right now, it's not even his topic of discussion. I just use him as an excuse. I mean, as an example. Nobody said all boxers. I never said ALL, but if you want to, if y'all want to say all, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? And this is what I've always said on my lives. These boxing fans are so skittish when it comes to just having a simple conversation about U.S. boxers that when it comes to foreign fighters, they are all perked up in position of attention and they're vigorously defending these foreign fighters. You give them therapeutic exemptions, which takes place over there in the UK a lot. Y'all exempt them from criticism that the U.S. fighters get all the time. That's a FACTZ. That's a fact. They get exemptions. Real talk. They will vigorously and tirelessly defend these foreign fighters and don't give them the same amount of criticism that U.S. fighters get over here. No way in heck I'm going to be hesitant. I'm going to feel some type of way and be fearful about expressing that. That's a fact, man. After that, Tank, other than Tank, what fighter does Monster bend the knee to? Tank is at 135. Inoue is just attempting to breach the 126-pound division. So Tank is 3 divisions higher, and nobody's talking about him moving down to face Inoue just because he fought at 130 before. You know what I'm saying? Recently. I'm just saying, he fought at 130 and picked up some titles there. And Inoue is 3 divisions lower, man. 26, 30, and 35. Why is Tank even in the conversation? And Inoue is 31 years old. When is this fight planning on happening? How long is it going to take for him to elevate to 3 divisions and fight Tank? How long? How many years is that? Because Tank said he ain't staying in boxing for a long time. Nobody 126 and on to bring in money. That's why their promoters send them over to Japan with a little pushback. Okay, I can agree with the promoters sending them, but look at what you're saying. You don't even have U.S. fighters, a lot of U.S. fighters that's at super bantamweight. First of all, you know what I'm saying? We don't even have a lot of U.S. fighters that's at super bantamweight. Joshua Greer Jr. was fighting at bantamweight until he had some hiccups in his career. Shout out to Don't Blink. He's been out the sport for like 3 years and he's on his way back. You had Dillian Price, who was down there at one point in time. Shout out to the D Boys. He was down there fighting at Superfly. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, yeah, Superfly, fly. Then he started having a growth spurt and growing. You don't have too many Americans that's fighting down there. Should I? Okay, let's take a peek. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all vigorously defend. So y'all said let's do super bantamweight, not featherweight. Let's go super bantamweight. I'm looking for American names down here. Sam Goodman sounds like an American. Kudos to him. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these Americans getting sent over there are not considered big names in the U.S. So how would they be picking up larger checks overseas comparable to the U.S.? It's no comparison. They're not even making big checks over here, and they definitely not making big checks over there. They just going over there and getting some nice little, you know what I'm saying, per diem money to take flight. You know what I'm saying? Where's all these names at? That's in the super bantamweight division. That's U.S. fighters. Dillian Price is still in the 118. So he's at bantamweight right now. He was at Superfly. So Dillian Price is number 8 in the IBF. It's good to see that. You know what I'm saying? He's moving up the ranks. I'm telling you, a lot of these lower divisions aren't really known like that. So if these names in the U.S. aren't really known, how is Inoue going to have so much credit on fighting US. No, he fought the Maloneys. He fought the freaking Donairs. You know what I'm saying? Donaire was past his prime. I'm not saying he's the only fighter that fought big names past their prime, but I'm just saying how y'all put your hands up in the air like you just don't care and say, oh, he fought this fighter. He fought Maloney. He fought Donaire. He fought Paul Buck. Man, come on now. He fought Stephen Fulton. Fulton wasn't a superstar in the U.S. I do rock with Fulton, but he wasn't no superstar. He barely wanted to. Man, fight fans really didn't know who Fulton was. Yes, he got a lot more exposure on the bad end of things when he went over there and he was all over the canvas. Real talk. And those of you in the chat, don't make it a me and you situation. We're just having a boxing conversation. So don't make it a me and you situation. Some of y'all are talking like it's a me and you situation. It ain't. Believe that. Boxing ain't in the top 10 in the UK. We turn out for everything. I'm telling you what I know. So if your whole intent is to prove me wrong, and everybody says that the UK support boxing heavy, every time I see a fight in the UK, it's one of your top sports that you support. Anybody who follow boxing, you can be a temporary to a casual to a hardcore to aficionado. Everyone knows that the Brits support boxing. So come on, bro. Come on, man. You trying to say we support. Like, once again, you're not listening. Pay attention to the DR if that is indeed your certification. Pay attention. I did not say that you didn't support any other sport. I said boxing is one of the top sports that you all support. So pay attention to language, learn how to listen, and stop being so combative. That's all I'm saying. What you're talking about has nothing to do with the historical trends for different weight classes from country to country. Out of all the people you have on your panel, they couldn't name 33% of the champs. You know what I found to be easy, Brim, is that it's very, very comfortable for people to be in the chat and talk about what people don't know because you're typing and you're pressing enter. That's a fact. It's very easy to look up information without being on a panel and being able to come up with this information while you're in a boxing dialogue. This is a conversation that a lot of people don't talk about because lower weight classes essentially is not a huge topic of discussion in boxing. It's just not, unless you're one of those fighters like Jess Baron Rodriguez and he gets the accolades for what he did. You don't see often people moving up 2 divisions and fighting a fight, stepping in for a experienced veteran that's already been fighting at the Superfly. You know what I'm saying? And it all trickles down from the franchise belt. Not every fighter can move up 2 divisions, fight a fighter, win, and then the fighter who was out for COVID comes back into the picture and he's defend that WBC belt against Sor Rungvisai, and he knocks him out. Not every fighter has that to basically pick up a title, drop down a division, win another championship, and then unify with Sonny Edwards. Not everybody can talk that talk, Brim, without putting in inquiry into Google, right? Putting in inquiries to Google and coming up with this information. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't name 33% of the champs. Why 33? What does 33 have to do with the price of tea? It doesn't have anything to do with what we talk about on these panels all the time. They'll tell you what you don't, what they think you won't talk about, as if you don't know. It's so many areas of boxing. Not everybody knows the entire spread. I mean, the spread of boxing is just ginormous. No one knows everything. It's easy to sit and put in information and do research and type. I like it. I like it. It's input. It's interacting with the chat. I like it. I know I got some very smart people in my chat. Real talk. Real talk. I know that for a fact. I know that for a fact because I've read comments that they put in there, and I know it's some very smart boxing aficionados that's over here. It's no clown, no circus. So when people start trying to say that I'm pushing this because I'm talking about Inoue. That's just my opinion. I'm not sitting up here saying facts all the time like certain channels do. Facts after everything I say. Facts. That's the ring. That's the thing, though, W says. Japanese coach is different. He might not want to be a global superstar. Got 700 million. He's a modest person. Look, it's a lot of people that has millions of followers. Let's not go off the AI contention. Let's not do that. Let's not base this contingent off he got 700. Japanese as a people are modest in general. You meet the women. Man, I was over there forever. Close to 7 years. This is one person you cannot tell about the Japanese culture, bro. I was over there. Was speaking very decent language. I could get around. I dated several Japanese females over there, man. I'm one person you can't tell me how they are. I know how they are. I used to be on a huge bike scene over there in Japan. I got the receipts. I'll show you a picture of a Japanese, a group of Japanese I used to ride with, and it's only 2 Americans in that entire picture. It wasn't because they want to freaking use affirmative action either. I'm just saying, you're talking to somebody who was very immersed in the Japanese culture, loved it. But I get where you're coming from. It's not just the Japanese that's modest. It's some Americans that's modest too that has millions of followers. I mean, let's not go to the AI side of it, man. It's just not a solid reference, man. We cannot account for all those freaking followers. You know what I'm saying? They have a lot of rich people in Japan. A lot of rich people. We have a lot of rich people in the U.S. that's modest. You missing the point. This is about logistical fan base trends, lower weight fight. Don't make a lot of money. And Inoue. Japan is king cash of lower weights. Fulton would have made 1/3. Like I said before, this is not strictly about Stephen Fulton, who was not a big star in the U.S. I'm not feeling no type of way because Fulton went over there to Japan. But when you're talking about logistical fan base, I guarantee you this. If I was to say, okay, come over here and let me drop the link and you present me some type of freaking information, a PowerPoint presentation on your logistical fan base and the numbers. You know what I'm saying? And the numbers. I mean, come on, man. What are you trying to confuse the fans? Logistical fan base trends. You actually think we go off logistical fan base trends? Where are these fans at? Where do they reside? What number is highest? You know, how can we find these numbers? What location? What part of the globe? Do we have a color-coded grid where we can put the U.S. vice opposite of the foreign footprint, and we can give a statistical breakdown of the fan base, and we can break it down even more on what is the logistical fan base trends. You're confusing people, bro. What is the logistical fan base trend? How do you even gather those numbers? And if there are numbers, what documentation do you have to support those numbers? Remember, y'all cats to come over here and feel some type of way about how I'm talking. These wrenches over here don't block you. They don't block you. You know what I'm saying? You know who you are. Especially Dr. Paul, you know who you are. I showed you nothing but respect. You come over here acting like everything got to be a debate. Believe me, I have no problem, giving you responses. No problem whatsoever. You trying to put words that didn't even come out my mouth into a freaking comment. You trying to act like boxing ain't one of the Brits, the UK's primary sports that they pay attention to. Yeah, they love boxing over there. I love seeing boxing, the boxers come over there with the pyrotechnics and everything. I love seeing fights over there. The lower weight fighters make like 250, 500K in America. Listen to me. That's not across the board, Brim. I really don't know where you getting these numbers from, but you cannot provide documentation. And being that out of 10 fights, look what you said. The lower weight fighters make 250 to 500K in America. We're talking about in what rankings? How many belts do they have? What should their resume look like? How many fights have they had? Where did they fight those fights? You know what I'm saying? Who are they attached to? What promotion? How many fights? How many fighters does Top Rank have in those weight classes? Come on. I mean, should we go down to this to prove that doesn't make any sense at all? You're trying to tell me these lower weight class fighters make 250 to 500K? Where they do that at? I'm not saying none of them do. I'm saying you said the lower weight fighters make like 250 to 500K. I'm telling you from going to fights, that's not entirely true. In Japan, fighting Inoue, they make millions. Okay, cool. Okay. Y'all haven't even been over to Japan to know anything about what they make over there. And you think that U.S. fighters just go over there and make millions because Floyd Mayweather do it. I mean, I'm not saying 100% that is wrong, but you all are saying that they go over there and they make millions. I've actually attended fights over in Japan when I was over there. I actually was very close to the combat scene over there. I was over there when it wasn't no USADA. I used to go to the kickboxing Grand Prix over there. I saw a lot of these fighters that finally transitioned over to mixed martial arts, and before those organizations was phased out in Japan. I know what their fan base is like. What is taxation like in Japan, and what's the rate of exchange of currency? It depends. Good question, MD. Good question. It absolutely depends. Currency is constantly fluctuating. The dollar to the yen. You know what I'm saying? Yen currency is what they use in Japan. Okay? So that is a very good question, man. I don't have to name a fighter. I don't have to name a fighter because this is not about the lower weight class. This is about Inoue. This is about him. This is about him. So look, this is how I handle that. If you're telling me what I can't do, I'm not going to prove to you that I can do it, because that's not the topic of the live. You know what I'm saying? That's not the topic of the live. I respect you putting a comment in, you interacting, but we're talking about the Japanese fighter, the monster. If you're the monster, you can come over here and show that you're the monster and step up and fight some of this competition like so many other fighters have done. Y'all acting like this is some type of pseudology that I'm speaking. It's a foreign language. You know what I'm saying? You act like this is xenophilia, that I have a phobia against foreign fighters. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Why am I going to step outside my scope of what I'm talking about just to try to make this something that you're not even educated about? You can't sit in chat and ask me questions about something you're not properly educated on, just because you can do it from a remote and you're in the chat. You know what I'm saying? I love to be educated, but that's not educating. All you're doing is just, I bet. But this is not something that I've heard you speak about at all. At all. Anytime I've heard you on the panel, I never heard you dive deeply into that. No. You know what I'm saying? Hey, if y'all over here defending fighters and you saying I'm hating, I'm not feeling no type of way about it. AJ is a robot and he's an overrated fighter, and that's how I stand on it. It don't have anything to do with my toes. It's my opinion. And my opinion is broad, just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So it's not based off fact, it's an opinion. And if you're up here trying to dictate someone's opinion, you have every right to do so. Freedom of speech. You know what I'm saying? Freedom of speech. I ain't mad. You know what I'm saying? I ain't mad. Everybody, look, Brim. Everybody wants to talk about the numbers that another fighter is making, but you have no solid raw numbers based off documentations. You cannot produce any contractual documents to prove what you're talking about. You all need to really fall back on that. You want to be managers, but you don't want to take on the responsibilities of a manager. You want to claim that you all know these numbers about all these big fights, but you don't. You can't produce one single piece of document. Not one. America has historically paid top dollar for entertainment and acts from all over the world. They want Monster cut a check. It's that simple. All I'm doing, I want him to come over here to the U.S. and have some big fights. You know, let's just say, for instance, he fight Tank, right? So you trying to tell me Tank is going to go over there to Japan? Let's just say Tank hasn't been offered a huge amount of money. Because right now he's tied down where he can't do business with Turk Al Sheikh, right? That's why he says, send me 2 Ferraris. If they're going to allow Tank to go over there and fight Inoue for a paycheck that he could have got over here, I mean, it has to be something astronomical for Tank to go across the water and go somebody else's country. He's been doing very well over here, making millions. So therefore, it's nothing Inoue is going to say for Tank to say, okay, come over to my country and fight me because I'm the A side. That's hilarious, man. I think that pathway only works for certain fighters. So that's why they have their high beam zone, because that's the first time they send a paycheck like that. That's the first time. None of these U.S. fighters at that weight class have the bargaining power to make him come over there. I agree, man. Look, that is sense right there. That is very logical, straight to the point. Bargaining power. I did not even mention anything like that. All I'm saying is nobody pays attention. But yes, bargaining power. Straight like that. They don't have the bargaining power over there, because even the promoters don't put a lot of emphasis in the lower weight classes. Come on, Brad. Come on. Look, who is Inoue signed to? Let's start there. How often do you see that promoter promoting? Let's be honest. Who is Inoue signed to? Is he not signed to one of the bigger? Man, come on, man. Come on, bro. I mean, that shuts everything down, right? That shuts everything. I don't care what Bob Arum says. Inoue is gonna be. Come on, man. Bob doing what Bob do. That's the triple OG right there. 90 years old, still up here in the game, but he's wrong in what he said about Vasily Lomachenko. He's wrong what he's saying about Inoue. They don't register in history the way he's trying to page them, the way he's trying to write these chapters after chapters. No, not in my opinion. But great point, MD. I'm not. The truth that we should making some of these arguments. So you're deflecting from the truth. They was making some of these arguments. AJ was way more. So you're gonna say I'm gonna switch. No, we on Inoue. You see the guy in the picture? Let me take that comment down. You see this guy right here in the picture? This is who the topic is right there. It's not very difficult to know. We're talking about him. We're not talking about your favorite fighter. We're talking about him. See, that's where we was at the first time when we actually had a dialogue. You want to make it about Wilder and AJ. No, we're talking about here. If you're talking about how we don't pay attention to lower weight classes and we can't name this, you need to stay on topic. We're talking about Naoya Inoue. We're talking about Monster. That's who we doing. You know what I'm saying? Stay on topic, brother. Leonard Ellaby just did an interview talking about Tank fight Monster at 130. Okay. If Tank want to fight Monster at 130, that's a little bit more logical than him fighting Tank at 135. Now, the way Tank has been looking lately, it seems like he got a nutritionist that's locked in. If he wants to fight Inoue at 130, I'm all for seeing that fight. That'd be great. I would definitely like to see the official paperwork come out and see where they're gonna fight, I almost guarantee you that ain't gonna be in Japan. I, I can guarantee you that it's gonna be a U.S. flag up there when that BoxRec announcement comes out and it's posted on BoxRec. I can guarantee you that. I can assure you, he fighting Tanker 130. It ain't. Listen to me. It ain't gonna be in Japan. No, don't mute him. Don't mute him, man. He's trying to make it about his favorite fighter. Don't mute him. I mean, one thing he's talking about boxing. You know, he's talking about boxing. So definitely don't mute him. The only fighter that may end up. So U.S. fight is shoot that the fight ain't ready. You're on the wrong side of history with your take on this. I'm on the wrong side of history, but I've been covering boxing longer than you, Brim. I've been living longer than you, first of all. And like I said, it is what it is, man. I'm not here to argue about fighters that you want this topic to be about. We're talking about the Japanese fighter. Hey, but I got to bounce, man. I got company. Shout out to the hottest chat in the MF and game. Appreciate y'all for y'all interaction. I'll be back on a little later. I'm out. Peace.